What's up, guys? Faruqi Bros here, back with another video. And today for you guys, we're going to be talking all about the biggest news that dropped last night from The Hollywood Reporter, and that's potentially a DC Universe reboot. So let me just walk down the information. Let's start with the facts first. The facts are that Wonder Woman 3, as of right now, is completely dead. Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, funny enough, submitted a script for Wonder Woman 3, which got rejected by James Gunn, Peter Safran, and the wider new leadership at DC. When asked, apparently sources are saying that Patty Jenkins refuses to do another version of the script, meaning if Wonder Woman 3 ever comes out, she will not be part of the project, not as a director or a writer. So that's the fact. We know that Wonder Woman's out. Second thing, Henry Cavill Superman probably out. Unfortunately, despite like a huge, resurgence in Black Adam and having a big Instagram post that went viral of him in the Superman costume, apparently DC under the new leadership is not that interested. And the rumors are that Man of Steel 2 is almost definitely done, despite, a lot of the rumors saying they were looking for directors. And Henry Cavill's future is uncertain. Even a scene that he shot for The Flash might not be in the movie. Speaking of The Flash, Ben Affleck's scene, as of right now, is no longer in Aquaman. They pulled Ben Affleck out of Aquaman. The Flash also is going to be a little different. So what we're seeing now is, and then the last thing is, which in my opinion the most surprising, Jason Momoa, who you would think is a surefire star for DC, apparently his time as Aquaman is coming to an end with Aquaman 2, and almost as a consolation prize, Lobo might be on the table for him. But what we're seeing more or less is the end of the Snyderverse actors in their original roles, potentially, as James Gunn is most likely going for a reboot. Now, to be fair, James Gunn had a thread today, not even too long ago, where he responded to the rumors to fans and everyone, where his exact words were, some of it's true, some of it's half true, some of it's not true, and some we haven't decided if it's true or not. To me, that answer is not good enough. I think that only further proves that we are going towards a reboot, and they're just not ready to say to the world yet, but it is coming. So I want to get everyone's reactions. There's a lot of talk about so many different pieces between Wonder Woman, Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Jason Momoa. We already know Ezra Miller is likely getting recasted no matter how good The Flash does because of his public, what's been going on in the public. And then Ray Fisher, of course, WB, we don't know how this new regime feels about him. We know the old one did not want to work with him. So it's interesting to think about. So I want to start with you, Zion. What was your reaction to all this crazy news that dropped out of nowhere last night?
Yeah, it was a pretty big bombshell. I mean, just like you said, with the recent Black Adam post-credit scene, that Superman's going to be back, and then Henry Cavill's own post about it. It was building a lot of hype, and then with the Wonder Woman 3 movie, you'd think that, okay, yeah, some of the actors or the films that are surefire they're going to release are Wonder Woman 3, Aquaman. These are two characters who everybody almost universally likes and they have no complaints about. So why switch it up? Why ruin it? I guess from the topic, let's start with what you said with Wonder Woman 3. Mistake number one is having Jeff Johns again. I feel like if it is anything like Wonder Woman 1984, then I'm glad it got shelved or taken out of rotation to be fixed, because that was obviously a train wreck of a movie, and you'd think Patty Jenkins would have learned not to work with Jeff Johns again for this one on the script, but clearly she did not. So if it's anything like Wonder Woman 84, I'm glad it got shelved, though I do hope there is a third Wonder Woman movie. If there isn't, then it wouldn't be surprising, though, with the notion that they're going to reboot and they're just going to hard reset everything rather than do a smooth transition. As far as Aquaman, that is really one of the biggest, dumbest things. I think the casting of Aquaman is such a spot-on casting, especially have a person of color playing the role. I think taking him out of Aquaman and putting him as Lobo is a huge demotion for him. And it's kind of disrespect almost, because Lobo is really like a D-tier character if you really think about DC as a whole. And I know people's counter argument to that would be that look at Guardians of the Galaxy or some other Marvel characters, they're also D-F tier characters, but in the right system, they're brought up to be very famous and people love those characters now. So I get that argument, but still, you look at the character on the name of Aquaman and you look at Lobo, it's like, yeah, you're kind of disrespecting Jason Momoa here by pushing him down to that level as like a consolation prize. Okay, we're taking away Aquaman from you, but here you can have this instead. So I think that's kind of dumb. I think that some things like that they should consider keeping the same, even if you're gonna completely change the story, make it so that nothing that we saw before has anything to do with the new films. At least keep the actors the same. I know it'll be confusing to audiences, maybe some of them, or some they won't be. I don't think it's as dumb as people think. I don't think the audience is as dumb as people think they are. And you can do a reboot with the same actors without it being such a huge problem. It's just the fear is that is James Gunn, Peter Safran, are they the right creative minds to lead the DC in a good direction? Because my last point of view with Superman is that you look at the comparison of the social reaction with Superman's Henry Cavill's announcement that he's back as Superman compared to the Ant-Man trailer that dropped that same exact time, and the social reaction for Superman was so much higher. So are they willing to just now squander all of that opportunity and all of that social hype and fan hype around Henry Cavill and Superman just so they can switch things up? I don't know, but we'll see.
It's interesting because one more thing I didn't say, The Rock's future as Black Adam is also very murky. Apparently, Black Adam 2 is probably not getting off the ground, despite he made a tweet yesterday saying that, hey, we made a profit after all, but a lot of people were looking at the numbers and the math wasn't mathing. So he was comparing it to Captain America 1, where that was like 10 years ago. Inflation and everything makes it so different. So a lot of these actors are potentially getting shelved and not coming back. So I'm wondering, like, you have 3 big movies coming out, 4 if you think about it. You have Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, The Flash, and Blue Beetle. Are these the last 4 DCEU movies in that reboot? And if it is a reboot, do you give a year break? Do you just right away jump into reboot? Do you convince, I really don't hope this is the case, do you tell Matt Reeves, hey, we're using the Batman as our launch point, whether you like it or not? I don't know. And that's, Umar, where I'm coming to you. Like, number one, your reaction, but number two, how do they even pull it off? Like, with everything so engrossed together already.
Well, I think I agree with Zian's take on how a lot of these decisions that are being made are just dumb. They're just stupid, especially the Aquaman stuff. I think in terms of the using the Batman as a launching pad for the universe, I think you do need Matt Reeves to say so. I think that's the way they would try to get that to happen. Like, they would probably try to make sure that he knows that, okay, maybe after the 3rd movie, we're going to use him. I don't think they're going to do it right away because of the way the timings work. I think they'll be able to pull off maybe ending everything with the Flash, and then by the time the Flash is going to come out and will be done, you might have a 2nd and 3rd Batman movie, or just a 2nd one, and then they're going to use that. Maybe at the end they'll put something like a post-credit, or not a post-credit, maybe even at the end of the movie, Batman just goes to see a Superman movie that might have already happened at that time, and they're gonna move forward like that. I just think I think DC fans just stay losing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you finally get back Henry Cavill, only to hear that it's not happening. Like, that's such like a sad thing. And then and the problem was never the actors. Like, the fact that they're all getting axed, it's also kind of sad because they're actually if you look at the actors and their performances, they're actually pretty loved. Like, people love Ben Affleck even though they didn't like Batman Superman. People love Henry Cavill even though they didn't like his performances, or they don't think he's a great actor, but they still love him as Superman because of his look, right? Wonder Woman, she's loved as well, right? So it's like you're axing all these actors. Momoa, like, every actor is getting axed for what? Like, what's the vision behind axing them? Now, if you want to reboot the whole thing, just come out and say it, because the problem the DCU has is that the fans, and it feels like also the creators, don't know what they want to do. Like, that's been the biggest problem with DC has been they don't know what they want to do. So I think that maybe the way forward, as bad as it is, I think it's like this well that is the DCU is just poisoned, and I think they're feeling that, and they feel like, you know what, if we can't do what the MCU has done in terms of having that seamless storytelling and whatnot, we're gonna start it fresh, because you have factions within the fans, and James Gunn's tweets like screamed us that there's factions amongst the fan base, there's factions amongst people, right? And we can't make everyone happy, right? And he's kind of right to a degree, because if you move on with the current state, you have a huge group of fans that want the Snyder stuff to come back, right? If you restore the Snyderverse, you have a huge group of fans, the general population, that maybe they're not about that. Like, they don't really care too much about that whole thing. So there's no way to win, really. And I feel like the way forward could have been this current thing that they were working on, where you slowly bring back people, bring back Superman, bring back Affleck, bring back these guys, and then work towards maybe a Justice League 1 and 2, which you said on our chat. I think that's like that was the best way forward, is that at least finish these stories off, and then start a new universe, right?
Yeah.
Do what Marvel hasn't done. Start mini pocket universes that do have 5 arcs, like 5, 6 movies, or even 10 movie arcs, and then just keep going and building, and then maybe have them bridge together later. Like there's so many options, but it just feels like the DC fan base gets the short end of the stick, because organizationally, I mean, even this coming out in the trades is so stupid. Like the fact that this stuff got leaked or whatever happened behind the scenes is so stupid. It shows that there's no organization. You're giving people information that shouldn't get that information, and that information is getting leaked out to the public. The public gets confused. You are also confused already because you're in the middle of making a decision. It's so stupid. It's just dumb.
I mean, I'll give my last point here and wrap us from there. But like, I think on your point on the leak, I had 3 possible ideas. The first is they did it purposely because they want to test the waters. They want to see what would the fans think about a reboot. And you're seeing on Twitter, most people are kind of against it. I've seen some people be like, hey, it's been so dysfunctional, let's just go for a reboot. Who cares now? And then some people are really against, like, why are you doing this? I think could be testing the waters. The second is, I remember James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to be presenting David Zaslav with their big 10-year plan next week. So it could be, again, that someone along the chain purposely leaked it to show everyone what's going on. The third is this leak is coming from Patty Jenkins because she's very upset about how she was treated for Wonder Woman 3. That script that she was given was dejected. And I'm with Zion on this one. Like, I don't know why she went back to Jeff Johns. That's an idiotic decision with how bad Wonder Woman 84 was. Like, why would you go back to this again? Like, so that means Wonder Woman 3 probably would have been a pretty bad movie. But her as a creator, she's feeling upset. She's like, Gal Gadot and me are supposed to be like one unit. Gal Gadot put on Instagram yesterday very randomly, like, thank you to the fans for letting me be Wonder Woman. It's almost like it could be read in 2 ways. Either she is literally telling the fans that goodbye and so long, or she's trying one last hope that people can be like, oh, I like your duo with Patty Jenkins. Hard to tell. In terms of my opinion on the wider universe, on like Henry Cavill on that, it's very upsetting because there was this mini pocket of time between Hamada's exit and James Gunn's entrance where DeLuca's team was handling it. And they're the ones who brought back Henry Cavill to Black Adam, and they were giving The Rock a lot of power. Now, I don't know if The Rock having a lot of power in the DC would have been a great move given how Black Adam turned out, but I actually think the way The Rock was at least talking to the fans and the way he made sure Henry Cavill came back, he was the closest thing to like a good leader that we got at DC. Like, he was actually trying to lead despite the movie not being that great, honestly. So it's interesting to think about. And then one more note, in that THR article, it said that DeLuca's version of DC, he wanted to do one more go around with all the Snyderverse actors, including a Justice League movie. That's an interesting thing that got lost in the fray of the article. I mean, they were thinking of doing Justice League. It probably wouldn't have been Zack Snyder Justice League 2, but they wanted to do another Justice League movie with the main Snyderverse cast, including Ben Affleck, which is why we heard Ben Affleck came back for Aquaman 2 and all these different things. But now with James Gunn, everything seems to be going sideways. And now he's saying that, listen, we're going to not, he said in this thread, James Gunn, he said that we're not going to impress, not everyone's going to be happy with what we do. And we have to make a lot of small decisions that are going to make, everyone's going to be divided even over what we say. But if you stick with us, we have a big plan. The problem is the fans are getting sick of sticking with it. Like, how long are we going to keep sticking with some new plan? The Hamadaverse plan, the Jeff Johns plan, the James Gunn plan. Every single plan is failing box office wise. So it's interesting to think about. I'm personally very upset if Henry Cavill gets booted. I feel bad for him. He had left The Witcher with all this like, oh yeah, I'm back in it now. And then this is now pulled from under him. What is he going to do, walk back to The Witcher? Like, I feel bad for him as an actor. But as a Superman, listen, he was the best part of Black Adam. And I was genuinely excited for Man of Steel 2. And I was like, they're going to the Top Gun Maverick director. They're asking the Harry Potter director. They're talking to people about Superman. I was excited. I was like, okay, there's something going on. And even if, let's say, Ben Affleck doesn't come back long term, at least we have a Superman. And then Matt Reeves can keep doing his Batman stuff. But now the issue is not that, Superman and Batman have no clarity. We have no Wonder Woman clarity. We have no Aquaman clarity. In fact, our Aquaman actor, who's $1 billion man, might be playing a D-list character in Lobo in a few years. And fine, if he's enjoying playing Lobo, good for him. But you don't give up Aquaman for that. Like, what's going on? So I'm very confused. And I didn't really like James Gunn's answer on Twitter about it. So I'm interested in learning more. I'm sure eventually at some Comic-Con, probably Comic-Con 2023, they're going to unveil, like, here is the slate, the DC slate. And I'm sure The Flash is right now unlocked picture, which means they can go back and fix things. And I think they're going to do something in the Flash to make sure that whatever the new universe is, it makes consistent. And I don't know. I hope at the minimum, I hope like Michael Keaton is not still Batman, though it probably is going to be. But let's see what decisions they make. Either way, I want to hear what your thoughts are on this whole DCEU reboot, Henry Cavill Superman being out, Wonder Woman 3 being canceled. Let us know in the comments below and join the debate. From myself, from Zion, and from Umar, we're the Faruqi Bros, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.